Well, good evening, and welcome to Times of Wisdom and Moments of Wisdom with Gladys Dark. And I'm going to be sharing with you today about being black, broke, and ignorant, and the tragedy of that, and also why we have to come out of that mentality. So I'm just giving some people a chance to jump on board here with me and get tuned in to this message. And I'm just going to teach it and share with you some really powerful information. And I want to share this because a brother asked me to share about this too, Brother Daryl. So I want to share this, and hopefully you will be inspired. Hopefully you will be provoked. Hopefully you will be enlightened. So I'm just going to wait for some people to jump online here with me, and we're going to get into it. How about that? I hope you're having a great weekend. I hope things are going well for you. And I hope that you will continue to prosper in your life. So I'm just waiting on a few people to jump on board here. And we're going to get into this very critical message about being black, broke, and ignorant. And we don't want to be that. So we want to get out of that mindset. And we want to get out of this poverty mentality. And we want to become all that God has called us to be, and have all that God has called us to have. And we want to get into a mindset, my sisters and brothers, of legacy and empowering the next generation. This is mainly to African Americans and Africans and people of color, and anybody else that wants to tune in. It's not a biased message. It's just the truth about African Americans. So, as I said, a friend here on Facebook, Daryl, asked me to do this message, and it's been a little while, Brother Daryl. So I hope that you're joining us and that you'll be able to benefit and hear this teaching. And we're going to go ahead and get right into it. So let's talk about being black and broke and ignorant. And ignorance is just, by Webster's definition, a lack of knowledge. The Bible even says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. And there's an old adage that says, when you know better, you should do better. So after this Facebook Live, you're going to know better. Now it will be up to you to do better. So we're going to get into that. So let's talk about this. The reason they say that we are black, broke, and ignorant, and we will not ever be a threat as far as the economy and as far as us prevalent in life as a people. And me and my son talk about this sometimes, my son Terrell, is because one of the reasons it's been noted that blacks don't read. And I'm going to read to you something that a gentleman wrote, and he's of Caucasian descent, and it's quite disturbing. He said, blacks don't read. And there's an adage that says, too, if you want to hide something from a black man, just put it in a book. And that's a tragedy for that to be the truth. But this is very deep, and unfortunately, it's true, as I said, and this is a heavy piece. And as I said, a Caucasian wrote it. So he went on to say, first of all, number one, that they are still our slaves, meaning and referring to black people, people of African descent. And you can say what you want. You're African American. I travel to the continent all the time, and African Americans have this thing about Africans, but you are an African. So you need to embrace it. Matter of fact, you need to get to know your roots. If not being able to go there physically, you need to do something here in America like I did and get a DNA test. Find out where you came from, because part of empowering yourself and becoming all that you can be is knowing your roots and your foundation. So this Caucasian man said, they are still our slaves. He said, we can continue to reap profits from blacks without the effort of physical slavery. That's very disturbing. He said, look at the current methods of containment that they use on themselves. Not that nobody else is using on us, but the containment that we use on ourselves. So there were three things he noticed, and noted, and you need to write these down, and you need to become aware of these things if you're doing them and correct them immediately. He said ignorance, that's number one. This is the containment that keeps you in a slave mentality. Although you're not physically chained, you're still chained. And then greed, and then selfishness. So he said their ignorance, talking about black people, is the primary weapon of containment. A great man once said, he said, the best way to hide something from black people is to put it in a book. And we live now in the information age, so that's even more prevalent. And he said they have gained the opportunity to read any book on any subject through the efforts of their fight for freedom, yet they refuse to read. Educate yourself, black folk, people of African descent. You can't even get anywhere in life until you find out where you came from. As I said, some people are not as fortunate to travel the continent as I do. However, there are books. They said the best way to keep something out from a black man or black woman is to put it in a book, make them out of a lie. He said there are numerous books readily available at Borders and Barnes and Noble and Amazon.com, not to mention their own black bookstores that provide solid blueprints to reach economic equality. I said to reach economic equality. Read, people, educate yourself. It ain't about a college or university. It's about picking up a book and reading. I had my children, when they were very young, reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I remember my 8-year-old son, who is currently an attorney. I had him reading that book, and my other son and daughter. And guess what? That book talked about what the middle class don't understand, and poor people, how to think like the rich, because as a man thinketh in his heart is what he becomes. So if you don't train your mind to think like a wealthy person, to think rich thoughts, you will never have money. You can pray till the cows come home. You can mumble, jumble, whatever. Go into church at 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. It's time, people, to wake up and to put some action to your religion, to your prayer life, to your Christianity. So these books, he said, to reach economic equality, which should have been their fight all along. Very few read them consistently, if at all. And most of them, they don't read them. Most of us don't read them. Black people don't read. You need to start reading. The number two thing that this Caucasian said, why the reason we are black, broke, and ignorant is greed. He said that's another powerful weapon of containment, people. They took the shackles off of you, sent us across the Atlantic Ocean from Africa, and we're still enslaved. You're not physically shackled down with your hand and feet, but your mind is enslaved. You need to break free right now, this day, in this moment. He said blacks, since the abolition of slavery, have had large amounts of money at their disposal. Last year long, it says they spent $10 billion. We spent $10 billion as a race during Christmas out of a $450 billion total yearly income, 2.22%. Any of us can use them as our target market. This is what a Caucasian man said. He said, for any business venture they care to dream up, no matter how outlandish, they will buy into it. He basically called us a bunch of dimwits, a bunch of fools, a bunch of idiots. He said, you can just start anything and black people are going to support it. They're going to buy it. They're going to purchase it. They're going to wait in line Black Friday. That's why they call it Black Friday, for you black folks that broke, busted, ignorant, ain't even got no money, your lights about to be turned off, and you standing in a line in the cold to buy the next biggest flat screen TV. Wake up, people. To buy the next Jordans that's your entire mortgage. Wake up, or your entire rent note. That's so foolish. And he said that we buy into this foolishness, and we do. You need to repent right now and decide to change. You will never leave a legacy of wealth. You will never empower the next generation. You will never make a difference in your family line until you wake up and stop pointing the finger at them. He said we've contained ourselves. We were set free, but we've contained ourselves with ignorance, with greed, with selfishness. So he said we become everybody's target market. And for any business venture, I don't care how outlandish it is, we're going to buy into it. Being primarily a consumer people, he said we function totally by greed. And we continually want more with little thought for saving and investing. And you know that's the truth. That is the pure truth. Sad, but true. He said they would rather buy some new sneaker, I just talked about it, than invest in starting a business. So true. Some even neglect their children, he said, to have the latest Tommy or FUBU, and they still think that having a Mercedes and a big house gives them status, or that they have achieved the American dream. Oh my God. You know what this man said? Black people are fools. The vast majority of their people, he said, are still in poverty because of their greed, holds them back from collectively making better communities. And he knows he's telling the truth right there. Because of any race or crabs in a basket, it's the black race. And we don't want to see each other be empowered. We constantly try to pull each other down. We will go to the Jew, the white person, the Caucasian, and support their business day and night. But when it comes to supporting our own, keeping our money in our own communities, we shuck it and we push back. And we'll rather pull a sister and brother down and not support their business because we got that crab in a basket slavery mentality. And we need to get it together. How do you think you're going to ever make a difference in your generational line? How are you going to make a difference in our communities when we're giving it constantly to Caucasians, to the Jews, to everybody else? And nothing is wrong with that, but support your black businesses too. He said we've contained ourselves. A white man wrote this stuff, and he said, here we go, with the help of BET and the rest of their black media that often broadcast destructive images into their own homes, we continue to see the huge profits, he said, like those of Tommy and Nike. Tommy Hilfiger has even jeered the African Americans and black people, saying he doesn't even want our money. And look at how he said the fools spend more with him than ever before. He said, I told them I don't want their money. They're ignorant. They're black. They're broke. And they still support me. So they'll continue to show off. This is what this article says. To each other, while we build solid communities with the profits from our businesses that we market to them. And I'm going to give you some statistics in a minute that shows how much we spend outside of our own communities. We need to wake up and wake up fast. This is insane. The next thing he said, that black people that keep us broke, that keep us impoverished, and that keep us destitute, and though the shackles have been taken off, we're still enslaved in our minds, and we still function like slaves to them. We've contained ourselves, as he said, with ignorance, with greed, and with selfishness. So he says selfishness is ingrained in our minds through slavery. It is one of the major ways this man said we can continue to contain them. He said one of their own, Du Bois, said that there was an innate division in their culture, in the black race, an innate division. As I've already shared with you, black people don't want to support black people. You'd rather support somebody else that spend your dollar. Don't let you think your sister about to make a buck. You're gonna find yourself in every way you can to bring her down. Don't let the brother you think he about to start his business or something. You're gonna find a way to sabotage it. I got rid of all the saboteurs in my life. I had a sister walking with me for years, and I started something, and she said, I don't know everybody in the group. I had a meeting with them, and she spoke up and said something dumb, talking about yeah, we want to make sure this worked this time, Gladys, because then everybody's just going to think everything you start fails. I said, you're dismissed. You are dismissed. Because first of all, you have the wrong mentality. Go on back to Egypt, honey, because we're going on over into the promised land. I don't need nobody who call themselves a friend of mine doubting me before the train even takes off. Go on back over there with your poverty mentality and your slave mentality and your jealous and envious mentality, that crab in a basket mentality. You better seek God and find out who those people are around you and get rid of them fast. Because he said this is one of the ways we're contained, because we have this innate division in our culture. And a talented tenth is what Du Bois called it. He was correct in his deduction that there are segments of our culture that has achieved some form of success. I said some form, quotation marks. He said, but however, that segment missed the fullness of his work. They didn't read that the talented tenth was then responsible to aid the non-talented 90% in achieving a better life. Instead, that segment has created another class, a bumpy class, that looks down on their own people or aids them in condescending manner. Oh my God, this thing should make you cry. It really should make you cry, because we need to do better. We need to make a passionate commitment to do better in our communities, by each other as a race. Stop dragging each other down while they're sitting behind their walls and buildings, as he said, and mocking us. That they still have a slave mentality. They're only going so far. They're not going to achieve much because they don't know how to come together. So he said that black people will never achieve what other races have. He said our selfishness does not allow us to be able to work together on any project or endeavor of substance. And I have to raise my hand and say, that man is telling the truth. I mean, I've tried to start businesses with many sisters, many brothers. I decided, Lord, let me go on with you, because they will try to sabotage. They don't want to see you getting ahead. Too many chiefs and too many Indians and too many chiefs and no Indians. Everybody want to lead. I thank God for the spirit. I can lead and I can be led. I know how to cooperate and I know how to lead people in a way. But I don't always have to be the head honcho, the HWIC woman in charge. And you know what else I wanted to say, but that would just be empowering what they're saying about us. But you don't have to be the head honcho all the time. Can you follow somebody? Can you take some directives? Can you support your sister? Can you support your brother? We need to get it together. He said when they do get together, listen to this, people, their selfishness lets their egos get in the way of the goal. Oh my God, help us, Jesus. If you're under the sound of my voice, you know you've experienced that with our own people. Our selfishness gets in the way and our ego takes over. And then nothing gets accomplished. So we abort the mission. We abort the business. We abort the plan. Well, the devil is a liar, because if God gives me a business idea and I incorporate or encourage one of my sisters or brothers to share in it, and they, because they have an ego, and Gladys ain't gonna tell me, and I don't want to be in business with her, though I have the means to take you somewhere, or it could be vice versa, and they decide to leave, trust me, you jumped off the train, but the train kept moving, because the devil is a liar. I would not leave my generational line broke, busted, and disgusted. It will never happen. Once I go into heaven, it will never be another broke dark in this lifetime, in this earth, in this world. Come hell or high water, because God has commissioned us and said to us that a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children, and black folk won't even do the minimum. If you ain't go create wealth for your children by working hard because you're lazy, then at least get a decent insurance policy, so when you bust up out of here, they have something, instead of looking again for the others to bury you. Poverty, slavery mentality. I don't care. I'll be gone. I've heard people say it, and let them figure out how to bury me. That's just a poverty mentality. How you going to impact a generation? You can't even impact your own household. Get it together. Get your life in order. Put your business and your life and your priorities in order. Start somewhere. I don't care if you're on welfare. When I was on welfare, I was saving money. It's all how you think about it. I can't afford insurance, but you can afford to go stand in that line on Black Friday and get the next plasma TV and afford to buy some Jordans for your 2-year-old. That doesn't even matter. People, get it together. Get your priorities in line. Stop being black, broke, and ignorant, because the devil is a liar. So this man, this Caucasian, talks about our community, and he said their so-called help organizations, look at this, he even went on into the nonprofits, seem to only want to promote their name without making any real change in their community. It sounds like my people to me. See, the first step is acknowledging where we're going wrong. And some of you on here are probably mad at me. Well, Prophet is glad. Yes, I'm going to tell the truth always, because if you really listen, it's going to help you. But the ones that say, I don't want to hear that, well, stay broke, busted, and ignorant, because they're counting on you doing that anyway. So go ahead and do that. And so he talks about this, that they're not setting up nonprofits for any major change in their community just to boast, and that's that ego thing. And I know that's the truth. It even happens in the fivefold with Black African American ministers of the gospel. They're pointing people to themselves these days. They're not pointing them to Jesus. And that's why it's not many ministers like me. They won't get on and talk about things like this because they want people to like them and embrace them. I don't care if you don't like me. I'm going to speak pure truth to you. And I pray that you receive it and get it together. But he talked about this. They are content to sit in conferences. Oh, my God. Did she say conferences? Woo! Conferences and conventions. Conferences after conference. No real change. Convention after convention. No real change. Programs after program. No real change. And he said, they're sitting up in there, guess what? In our hotels. They're sitting back on the beaches of the world, counting the billions you're spending and empowering their children and grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren to come, and we're sitting up in there doing our little thing, thinking we doing something. You ain't doing a thing. You need to own some of those convention centers and conference halls. He said, so let them keep on doing their little conventions and conferences. Yeah, we're going to bill them every time and talk about what they will do while they award plaques to their best speakers, not the best doers. Oh man, this man is really, he telling the truth. I mean, when I read it, I couldn't even get mad about it. If I got mad, it's mad enough to share with you and let you know what they think about you, and to make some changes and adjustments in my own life, and hope you will make some too. But as for me, I'm never going to be living above my means, and my son taught me that because I planted in his life at an early age the Rich Dad Poor Dad book by Robert Kiyosaki, and he said, Mama, trim back. I said, boy, what? I'm used to it. I was caught up too, y'all, enslaved. That's why when you've been set free, you need to share the word. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do just that. You know, they talk about even when we get promotions and a raise on our job, we make that raise go up to our living standard or over. How about you save that extra $5,000 that God gave you? How about putting it in some, investing it in some stocks and bonds and mutual funds? How about starting for your grandchildren college fund right now? You know how you can ensure generational wealth? Start early. How about you go start some kind of trust fund for your 2-year-old granddaughter or your 1-year-old grandson? That's what I'm getting ready to inquire about and do. And by the time they're 21, they'll be walking in millions. See, we don't think right. Stinking thinking will keep you broke, busted, and ignorant. So this man continues to talk about how we empower other communities and not our own, and give out plaques for speakers, and ain't nobody doing nothing. What did you do to get that plaque? And he said, is there an end to their selfishness? They steadfastly refuse to see that TEAM, together each achieves more, or together everyone achieves more. You ain't gonna do nothing by yourself, a little lone island, and you ain't gonna do nothing with that crab in a basket mentality. Because that same young lady that said my business or what I was getting ready to start was gonna fail, and I dismissed her from the group. I'm thriving. I don't know what she is, still over there, still living where she living, I guess, and ain't moving nowhere further. But Gladys Dark is gone. Because you ain't going to tell me when God gives me a creative idea, invention, or a wisdom that it ain't going to work. The devil is a liar. You better get those duds off of your team and get the right people. So he said they do not understand that they are no better than each other because of what they own. That's so true. I mean, I have some nice things, but I'm not saying I'm better than her, I'm better than him. And black people This is my own little 2 cents. Black people want to compete with each other and not knowing the means by which the other person do what they do. See, I saw that live and in living color when I just bought a car. First of all, God blessed me with a Mercedes Benz. And I needed to get a car. You know, my Lexus was acting up. It wasn't like I'm just going out buying a car. And number two, while the people that got jealous and envious and they can go out and try to do what I do and don't know how I do it, how about I get a car allowance on my job? So I'm not even paying for the car. That's just a little tidbit, nugget, secret of ignorance, being ignorant and foolish. Because it makes no sense to try to compete with your sister and brother when you don't even know the means by which they do what they do. That's covetousness, and God would never bless that. And he says, in fact, most of those buppies are but 1 or 2 paychecks away from poverty, trying to perpetrate, trying to flex. Ain't nobody thinking about you with your broke self. You need to really evaluate your life and your priorities and say, why I don't even think you should be looking to have luxury cars and homes if you don't have no investments. How about you start with the foundational thing? How about you get an insurance policy this week? Because you probably don't have one. How about you do that? How about you say you're going to take a portion of your income and just store it away? I told my son, I'm going to save 20% of my salary this year. And he said, Mom, that's very disciplined and aggressive. I said, I know. So guess what? I'm going to have to cut back on some things. And it's worth it. I'm looking at the next generation. I'm looking at my grandkids and my great-grandkids. You can't make a difference when you broke and busted yourself. So how about start with the foundational things? How about just if you can't afford, get a $10,000 policy, or $20,000. Start somewhere, make a change, people. How about you call up Charles Schwab and see what's the minimum investment that you can make? Or some of these other places that Lincoln Financial that do stocks and bonds, Primerica, whoever. How about you do that? Instead of talking about, I'm about to get this new car, this new house, I'm going to do this. Those things they decrease in value immediately, especially a car. I don't buy brand new cars because like they said, the minute you drive it off the lot, it has decreased in value. So why should I do that? So he said we're just 2 paychecks away from poverty, all of which is under the control of our pens. Listen what this man said about us. He said it's just a stroke of their pens in their boardrooms. There's some of them sitting around a board table right now, just writing checks from our deposit into their businesses, because we don't own no conference centers. We don't hardly own any banks. And if the black banks in our community, we ain't supporting them. We don't own these convention centers. We're the ones supporting them. He said, yes, let them continue to contain themselves as long as they refuse to read. They don't educate themselves. You don't have to be going to college, getting a PhD as I am, to the glory of God, to continue educating my people to step into places that only where a PhD would be accepted, because some of us got education and we're still dumb. So I never looked at education as my end all be all. Jesus is, and education don't make me, I make the education, because I was managing people with a high school education. When I had a high school education, I was managing people with masters and people with bachelors. And one young lady that I was her manager at a company, and she thought, because she had a bachelor's, a sister, crab mentality, and she said, how did you get this job? Because I came in over her boss. And I said, I got this job on my knees, sweetheart, something you may want to learn about, because Clark Atlanta ain't going to get you there. Let it add to you, but don't pump education up above Jesus. The devil is a liar. So he said, with the stroke of a pen, we're containing them. Oh my God, the devil is a liar. He said they going to continue to support us. They refuse to read. They continue to buy anything they want. They don't have any restraints on their spending habits. They keep thinking they are helping their communities by paying dues to an organization which do nothing, do little or hold no lavish conventions. He said, while they hold their lavish conventions in our hotels, spending thousands of dollars. So people, listen to me and listen to me good. I'm about to give you some statistics. You should be mad as ever right now. Mad enough to do something. Not to just sit back and have heard the truth and do nothing. You should pass this and post this message on your wall and tag everybody you know, because our communities need to wake up and black folk need to get it together. He said, don't worry about them. He said, don't even worry about them reading this. See, I'm communicating to you what he said. He said, because guess what? They don't read. My. He said, they don't read. So they won't even ever get a hold of this that I just shared to you, what this Caucasian said about black African Americans and people of African descent. So I'm going to wrap this up right now. I'm going to give you some statistics, because this is the truth, people, and we got to change. Now, there was another article that African American brother wrote, because I guess he was like me. He just got really angry about this and said, I need to take this a little bit further and investigate and do some statistics to see if this man knows what he's talking about. And he said, he did an article about how black people spend their money. And he said this has been a hotly debated topic, and we talk about it, or they talk about it, other races, in their offices, at social events, in the beauty and barber shops, and all across America. And he says, we look at the year in review, and this was done just last year, updated in December 2016, just 8 months ago. He said he had wrote this article, and it was one of the most read and commented article that he had ever published. But he said the research revealed this. Listen to this, and this should scare you. How does the black dollar circulate in our community before it goes out? How long is it in circulation? He said the black dollar, and you think about this the next time you go get your hair done, the next time you go get your nails done, the next time you go in a shop and buy some hair. How about you find an African-American place in your community and buy their hair? True Glory, I believe, is a black a place where they sell hair. I go there often. And how about let the Koreans support the Koreans and the blacks support the blacks? How about you think about that even when you get your feet done, the things that you do? How about you start consciously thinking of a way to support your own? Now, if it's a situation where you just can't support your own, you know, we just can't in certain things because we don't own a lot. I just told you that. If we probably started supporting each other, we could change some of that. So we could have some black airlines and some black businesses and some black banks. And how about about you go open an account at a black bank tomorrow? I have Bank of America, and then I have some credit unions, and then I have some money circulating in some black banks. They're in your community. How about you do that? How about the next time you go buy a car, you try to give the commission to somebody that looks like you on purpose, consciously? I do that. How about you in your grocery stores? How about you go to a place where people may look like you more or own the place? Like I said, you can where you can and you can't where you can. But as much as possible, try to keep this black dollar circulating. Listen to this, people. Not even 24 hours, not 12, not even half a day do our dollars stay in our community. It circulates in the black community about 6 hours. You know how long it circulates in the white community? 17 days. You know how long it stay in the Jewish community? Because you know those Jews, they go keep their money in their community. 20 days. How long does it stay in the Korean Asian market, in their community, people? 30 days. Their dollars stay in their community. They're trying their best not to put it in anybody else's hands but somebody who looks like them. And we should be doing the same. 30 days in the Asian community, 20 days in the Jewish community, 17 days in the Caucasian community, a mere 6 hours in the black community. But guess how much money, how much we invest, and how much of the spending power we have, while our dollars, they're going in these other communities. That we got 6 hours and we're taking it to the Asians, we're taking it to the Jews, we're taking it to the white folk. And I'm not racist by any means, but I'm educating my folk here. For anybody that's not of African American descent listening to this, don't take it personal. Somebody got to tell their people, and I'm going to be the one to say, come on, people, as Moses did, let my people go. Come on, sisters and brothers, get it together. Come on, invest in your sister, invest in your brother. Stop being a crab in a basket. Stop tearing each other down. Stop wishing each other evil. Stop saying, oh, I ain't going in business with her because you know how we do. Well, I mean, you're still going to be black. You're still going to be black. So choose wisely. Whether you decide to go in with somebody that you have, that we know how we do, find somebody. Everybody don't do the same. And make sure it ain't a little stint of jealousy. So according to Timba Muhammad, and I'm not of the Nation of Islam, and definitely not a Muslim, but I'm a Christian and love the Lord. But this Muslim said, he said, wasteful black spending is rooted in slavery. Now, that's the truth. And then, you know, Louis Farrakhan, he be speaking some stuff. You need to listen to him. I didn't say you need to follow him, but you need to listen to some of the stuff he said. And he gave a speech on the root of black spending behaviors and what black people need to do to correct these bad habits. So according to him, 42 million blacks have a spending power amounting to 1.1 trillion. Which gives, he said, each man, woman, and child an annual spending power of 26,200. Their money, he said, blacks spend their money overwhelmingly with white businesses on the following products. So, since my Facebook Live is trying to mess up, I'm going to put these statistics below, and you can see what black people spend their money on. 3.3 in tobacco, 3.3 billion, 3 billion in whiskey, wine, and beer, 2.8 billion in non-alcoholic. Then he said that we spent 3.1 billion leadership spending, 3.5 billion towards games and 6 billion cell phones and telephone services, 10 billion